Welcome back, writers. I am so excited that you joined me for this lesson because it honestly is one of my favorites. I think it's because of the book that was used, but I hope that you have had a chance to listen to Josh Gad read The Day the Crayons Quit by Drew Daywalt. It just cracked us up when Emery and I sat and watched Josh read that book. We just giggled and laughed because of all of the voices that he used. So we're going to use a sentence from that book to explore and think about the choices the writer made. So here's the sentence. I love that I'm your favorite crayon for grapes, dragons, and wizards' hats, but it makes me crazy that so much of my gorgeous color goes outside the lines. And so Drew DeWalt wrote that from the purple crayon's point of view in his book, The Day That Crayons Quit. So there's so much to see in the sentence, right? So take a minute and just really explore the sentence and think about all of the things that you notice that Drew did as a writer when he wrote the sentence. So just take a minute and call out some of the things that you notice. I'll give you just a minute to talk out loud and think this through. Okay, so I am sure that you noticed the capital letter and the period. Yes, 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 we always need those, right? We always need those. Um, you may have noticed all of the commas in here too. There's quite a few commas. We have a comma here after grapes, and another comma here after dragons, and another comma here after wizards' hats. So let's go ahead and talk through some of these commas, right? So, I love that I'm your favorite crayon for grapes, comma, dragons, comma, and wizards' hats, comma. Huh. So we know commas are there to make us pause when we read it out loud, but we also know that commas are there to separate things. And I have to tell you, these commas are separating things, but in different ways. So if we look here at these two commas, what are they separating? I love that I'm your favorite crayon for grapes, dragons, and wizards' hats. So the boy Duncan inside the Day the Crayons Quit, he uses that purple crayon to draw grapes, to color in dragons, and to color in wizards' hats. So in this case, that comma is used to separate these items in a list, right? The things that he uses the purple crayon to color: grapes, comma, dragons, comma, and wizards' hats. So these two commas here are used to separate items in a list. But what about this comma? There's nothing in the list after that, wizards' hats, but it makes me crazy. You see, there's nothing else in that list. So that comma is being used for something different. What is it separating? Let's see here. But it makes me crazy that so much of my gorgeous color goes outside the lines. If I took away but and I just started with it, would I have a sentence if it says, it makes me crazy that so much of my gorgeous color goes outside the lines? Could that be a sentence by itself? It could. It could. The subject is it. The verb is makes. It makes me crazy. Yeah, so definitely that could be a sentence by itself. We have the word but there. We have a comma there. Okay, well, let's look here. Let's turn this into, let's just pretend that this comma becomes a period. I love that I'm your favorite crayon for grapes, dragons, and wizards' hats. Period. Could that be a sentence? It could. I is the subject. Love is the verb. So to me, it kind of looks like we have two separate sentences here that come together into one. And so we use this comma and the word but there to join those two sentences. Now, Some of you, especially third, fourth, and fifth graders, you may have already learned about compound sentences this year, right? This is definitely a compound sentence. It's where we take two sentences and put them together. We join them together with a coordinating conjunction. We don't call those coordinating conjunctions because that's just a lot of words, right? What we call them are fanboys. And so we can join two sentences or two ideas together by using a comma and a fanboys. Okay, so let me show you what those fanboys are. So here's our sentence, subject, verb. Here's our sentence, subject, verb. We can put those two together with a comma and one of the fanboys. So these are our fanboys. These are our most common, what we call coordinating conjunctions, to combine two sentences to make them into one compound sentence. So like when we make compound words, we take two words and put them together to make one. Same with the compound sentence. We take two sentences and put them together to make one, and we join them with a comma and one of our conjunctions that we call the fanboys. So any of those would work in there. As a writer, we have to choose which one makes the most sense for what we're trying to say. So knowing that, let's look at our next one then. The sloth hangs from a tree, and the snake slithers among the slimy rocks in the rainforest. What do you see as the same between those two sentences, and what do you see is different? What do you notice? How are they alike, and how are they different? Take a minute to really explore those similarities and differences. Okay, so you may have noticed that the second sentence is not as long as the first one, right? It doesn't have as much in it. That first sentence has a lot of detail. It's got a lot. It talks about what he's coloring and what it is that makes him so crazy. There's so much going on in that first sentence. It still makes sense, but it's a lot of detail. The second sentence doesn't have as much detail. Still has details, not just the sloth hangs and the snake slithers. We've added details to answer questions like when and where and how. So, some things that you notice are the same. I bet you notice that they both begin with capital letters and they both end with periods. Yep, we need that. You may have noticed that they are both compound sentences that are separated with a comma and then one of the fanboys. So in the first sentence, Drew Daywalt used the fanboys but. In the second sentence, we use the fanboys and, right? The sloth hangs from a tree, comma, and the snake slithers among the slimy rocks in the rainforest. So we can check to see if those are compound sentences simply by looking before the comma to check to see if it's a sentence, and then after the fanboy to check to see if it's a sentence. So the sloth hangs from a tree. What's the subject? The sloth. What does it do? Hangs. And then after the fanboys, the snake slithers among the slimy rocks in the rainforest. What's the subject? The snake. And what does the snake do? Slithers. And then we have all those other details there as well. Fantastic. We have two sentences that are joined together by a comma and one of the fanboys. And we have what's called a compound sentence. So in our next lesson, we're going to write our own compound sentence together. Have a great day.